Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls. Welcome back to the weekly Armchair Sports Talk. I'm your host, Marc, of course. I'm joined tonight by Stu and Sean. Thanks for coming on, boys. 3-1 win in the end. A little bit sloppy after the third goal. And obviously, we'll go into that in a little bit more detail. But I hope you're well, guys. Get your comments in, get like and get subscribe and all that rubbish. And talk to us. Stu, how you feeling, buddy?
Yeah, it's all right. Win's a win, innit? I mean, it's typical fourth round football, isn't it? Let's be honest. I was on a show the other day, and I kind of suggested that he should really consider running a separate team for tonight and obviously for Wednesday's semi-final. Rest a couple of players, send them away on holiday for a week. He elected to play the players that I suggested he moved away. And you know what? It didn't really pan out in the first half for us. I know Rashford's goal, okay, fake goals. It was just one of those things, wasn't it? You know, slightly offside, and then he interfered with play, which is fair enough. It's an offside.
Yeah, it was a correct decision, obviously. It's just frustrating for Rashford, wasn't it?
Yeah, I mean, you know, it was a really good header, but you could kind of see a pattern emerging. And this funny thing happens with football because Vince is in the changing room and he's got the team sheet and he's saying, look, lads, stay in the game for the first half. Let's see what happens in the second half. You know, you're playing against players that we weren't expecting to play, maybe. We might have been expecting, you know, 5 or 6 of them to play, maybe a few others not to. And then teams like that can look at it one or two ways. They can think, right, here's my opportunity to show that I can compete with likes of Casemiro, Eriksen, Bruno, etc. And they did, you know, they did pretty well. You know, they weren't outstanding, but they've got some good ball players, Reading have, and they got some astute players. And they made it difficult for us in the first half. Obviously, Ten Hag got into them. I think the second half was a different game, really. The Anthony pass into Casemiro was wonderful. It was a great bit of vision.
He was very, very good tonight, actually, Anthony. He didn't
He
really...
was.
Couldn't really get a shot on target, the poor lad, but everything else he did really well. We'll talk about him a little bit more for sure.
Yeah, he was. And, you know, Casemiro and his composure was outstanding. It was a nice little dig. And then the second goal, you know, look, you've got to be in it to win it. You've got to roll the dice, haven't you? It's a lovely, beautiful strike. Whether or not the deflection had too much of an issue in terms of the trajectory, I didn't think so. I don't think the keeper was getting there anyway, so I think it was a clean goal. Yeah. And you know, all fairness to Fred, he's put his Brazilian flair in. But look, nothing to write home about. We haven't played particularly scintillating football, apart from Arsenal at times, where I thought we were excellent over the last few games. We've got to be very, very careful now on how we manage players moving forward, because I think on the end of February, it will be quite telling on Eriksen, Casemiro, Bruno in particular, the way that they're kind of playing every game, and Eriksen in particular is starting to fade a little bit in games. Bruno wasn't particularly influential tonight. Casemiro he was up and down, you know, with his possession and his play tonight. You know, still bagged the second goal. So all in all, look, you can't complain. Be interested to see who we get. Well, I think it's Wednesday, isn't it? The draw, something like that. So
yeah.
I'll be interested to see who we get. But yeah, so really. I can't be elated or I can't be disappointed.
No, it's one of those that really you should expect to win. I think there's some big points, actually. Some that you made, actually, have really sort of jumped out to me tonight. Lots of talk about team rotation. You said it, I've said it beforehand. Should he be rotating more? But perhaps he has only got trust, and I think he should do. I just hope that doesn't come to bite us in the arse, you know, further on, as you say. Also, the midfield three, they're pretty much the go-to. I know Fred's obviously coming on and doing bits, but that could be an issue for us. Shame about Rashford tonight as well, and you know, those sorts of things really. Sean, great to have you on, buddy. And actually, another point here, just quickly. Sorry, Sean. She said, Helly, good to have you with us, by the way. Breaking down an extreme low block that takes some figuring out, and that was something else as well. You know, this was something we really, really struggled with a couple of seasons ago. And we seem to be grinding, you know, we don't have to play excellently, but we seem to be getting at least a win mainly, isn't it? Only a couple of draws here and there, and that's something we don't see. We don't seem to be frightened against all opponents these days. We seem to sort of be a little bit nervy against the bigger one, but still getting results. And I think that's a big change that's been nice to see, isn't it?
Yeah.
Sean, thank you very much, mate. Sorry to waffle on. Great to have you with us again, my man. How you doing? How you feeling? And yeah, your thoughts, please, bro.
Hello, it's good to be here. How are you doing? Yeah, look, result speaks for itself. Like I said, the history books will say the result, and that'll be it. There won't be usually there isn't a synopsis of the match on the history books. It's just a green W or a red L, and we got our W in the bank tonight, successfully. What stood out to me most about the game was, particularly in the second half, the players were running around with smiles on their faces, having a laugh at one another. At one stage, Malacia had a rare shot, and it was about 15 yards over the crossbar, and he just started laughing at his teammates, And when Bruno came off, he had a bit of a jostle and a laugh with Ten Hag as well. So no, that was really good to see, because I was watching the match with a smile on my face as well.
Yeah, it's nice that is when that happens, isn't it?
Yeah, and it's rare for us over the last few years, to have that. And let's call a spade a spade. It's great to have performances there. I agree with Stu to an extent that, if they weren't 100%, there's no question of that. I mean, some of the players are knackered, and dare I even say, even the pitch was a bit knackered, because there was people slipping and sliding all over the place. So if that tells you how congested the fixtures list is at Old Trafford, that even the pitch is feeling it, that's a big thing for me. Obviously, Casemiro got his 2 goals, affectionately nicknamed Clasemiro now. I think well and truly.
I love that term. I call him that week in, week out. So you'll hear me say that.
And Helly's comment there as well. He's won everything. He's still so hungry. He wears number 18 on the back of his shirt, and that's how many trophies he won at Real Madrid. 18 trophies, 5 of those Champions Leagues, and he's still like, I don't think he knew too much about the second goal. I think it was more instinct. And when he realised was when the ball was halfway towards the goal, and I think he went, oh, well, that one's went in. And again, a big smile and a grin on his face, and that's what really stood out to me. They're playing with passion. They're playing for the manager, and they're playing for the shirt. They're playing for the fans, but they're enjoying their football. And it's great to see a group of players enjoying their ball and getting the results. I agree, maybe a little bit sloppy in parts, but look, overall, isn't it fantastic to see them with a smile on their faces? That's the message from me.
Yeah, and a beautifully summed up message that is, Sean. And I've said it time and time again. It's really lovely to love your team, isn't it? And I think from all sorts of directions, dynamics, we do again. You can see the players wanting to play. You can see that we've got an identity. Do you know what I mean? And yeah, summed up perfectly there, buddy. Yeah, look, it's 4th round. Sometimes we can get caught out in these sometimes, and we have done before.
Yeah.
So it's obviously a good thing we're through to the next round. It would be nice to see who we get in the next round. Now, listen, I know this is going to be a bit of a daft question, really, because I know what you all say. I know what people in the comments will say. We should be in it to win everything. And I firmly believe that too. But due to the fixture congestion, do you think this is something, Stu, that we should be looking to get as far as possible, or do you think we should utilise this as a little bit of a respite? I think we're so close, almost 1 foot in the door in the final of the Carabao, doing very well in the league, really need to focus on Europa. Listen, as much as I want to be in everything, I don't think we've got the squad to do that, and already we've picked up upon the pitch being poor and the players looking knackered. Is this something that we should kind of use as a rotation?
I made the point a couple of shows ago that there comes a time where Ten Hag is going to have to look at the overall situation. He's got to look at longevity rather than the short term sometimes. And as much as I love the FA Cup, I'm old school. The FA Cup means a lot to me.
Yeah, me too.
I've seen some brilliant ties. I would have made a lot of changes, and I would have rested. I would have sent off half the first team squad on holiday, because we don't play now until, is it Saturday or Sunday against Palace? I'm completely lost with fixtures now. I haven't got a clue. Sunday, and then aren't we playing midweek against Leeds? Or
Yeah,
something
we've got some. So we've got Forest Wednesday, Palace
Forest
Saturday,
Wednesday, yeah.
Leeds Wednesday,
Yeah.
Leeds Saturday, I think that is, or Sunday, and then
Something like
Barcelona,
that.
then
Barca,
City.
yeah.
But it's all in a
So
space of 18 days. That
it's
is.
very close. So that's what I would have done. We got this week's break now, and he could have worked with a group of 18 players, 18 good players still, and so and Alanga came on, did quite well tonight. Garnacho, Palestri, you've got some hungry footballers there that we can really utilise. Jack Butland should have been between the sticks tonight. There was no real need for De Gea at all. Martinez gets his rest. Varane gets his rest. We all know how fragile Varane can be. Let's put it that way. Martial is obviously quite fragile. So we're going to need these players. We're going to need them fresh. And at the moment, we're going into a group of fixtures and a very, very important double header against Barcelona with Eriksen shattered, Bruno shattered, Casemiro's tired. Rashford he was okay tonight, but it's going to catch up with him. So you've got to look at these things. Sir Alex Ferguson was the master of putting players through operations at the right time of the season. He would look at his block of fixtures coming up and said, "We don't need you for that. There's your op. Get it done." Or, "I don't need you for this. Go away for a week." He's a master of that, and I think Ten Hag. You've got to really admire his enthusiasm. You've got to admire the way that he works. You've got to admire everything about the way that Ten Hag does. But I think it's going to kind of punch him right in the face at the wrong time. He's not going to understand the pressures of Premier League football, the pressures of FA Cup football, the pressures of Europa League if we get through against Barcelona, and the pressures of Carabao.
Surely it's the case though that he is a well versed manager now. He's very good at what he does, and he knows the congestion. He knows what that kind of congestion may be, and also the fact that he knows how intense the Premier League and the teams around it now. So surely he can put two and two together and make those correct decisions.
You would hope so. That's all I'll say about that. You would hope so. But, how many games did we play in January? We've got something like 10 games in February. And these are all these games in February. The Barcelona games are critical. We've got the Carabao Cup semi-final. We've got the Carabao Cup final in February as well. Don't forget. People are forgetting we've got that to fit in. And then we've got, teams like City, or I can't remember who we've got. As I say, the fixture list is a blur to me at the minute. Now, as a player, by the way, Mark, let me be clear about it. As a player, you don't care. You're not bothered. You go home, you chalk it off, it's another win. You come in, you're fresh. But these players aren't training at the minute. We've got no time for training. We've got no time to really knuckle down and look at what we're doing. So there's very, very little training going on. It's more recovery time. It's more keeping your fitness going, and it's more talking about the opposition. So, it's Saturday evening. He might rest the lads tomorrow. He might give them a rest day, or they might go in for an hour's warm down. Then they're back in on Monday. There'll be very little training Monday because they'll be looking ahead to Wednesday. So, for me, it's you just got to manage your squad the right time. And as professional and as good as Ten Hag is, I think he's going to find himself, by playing this small group of players, game in and game out, he might come unstuck. And I don't want him to. I don't want him to come unstuck. That's the problem. There you go.
He's going to...
Shane's spot on, yeah. So, we need to make sure we go over to Barcelona, win the game.
Yeah, that's going to be our biggest test for sure. Just going to come to a few of the comments. Reese tonight, bless him, he's doing a watch along for the Royal Rumble. So if you are a wrestling WWE fan, it's always good fun to watch actually, and of course you'll be able to watch it alongside them. It will be a late one, but you might enjoy that, so get on over. He's also gone to say they are showing Eric's interview and comparing his words to how he spoke to Johan Cruyff as a child discussing football. That's right there. It's two perfectionists in the world of football. He wants to win every match, but surely he's been in the game long enough to understand the wear and tear and play. I'm absolutely sure of that. It's just always a concern. As Stu said, I think we're so much in love with him at the moment. We don't want to see him perhaps do any things wrong. I think that's more the point. Anything to add to that, Sean, with the congestion and that sort of thing?
Yeah, look, it's very much a love affair with Ten Hag at the moment. I think I agree with Stu to a point. And then for me, I think if the result against Forest earlier in the week goes any differently, I think he doesn't play as strong a team as he did tonight. And I think that he knows he can give maybe a couple of lads a little sit down for an hour and a half next week. And that's probably why he fielded such a strong team tonight. I think if that's maybe even a 1-0 during the week, I think it's just a case of, right, we'll need somebody later and maybe put out a lesser team tonight, or maybe not the first team, whatever way you want to describe it. It amounts to the same thing anyway. So I agree to a point, Stu, but I think that if again, if that result during the week made a lot of that decision for Ten Hag, and I think he went, look, I'm just going to put it out there and go with that. I do like Reese's comment above, which says 4 fronts, 3 Brazilians in a 5th round tie. I don't think Reese has ever seen 3 Brazilians in 90 minutes, 4 rounds deep in his life. But sure, look, that's a completely different story for another day. Maybe he'll discuss it on the watch along later.
I love that.
I'll take your point there, Sean. I guess my point was really raised about, there are occasions where you've got a squad of, I think we've got a squad of good 25 players, really. I really do. Palestri looks hungry. Garnacho, we know, is hungry. I thought Mino came in, didn't have a lot to do tonight, but he looked quite steady.
He's technically, I know we haven't seen much of him. I've seen a lot of him in the youth.
Yeah, very, very
he's
good.
Technically very, very good to watch.
You've got Weghorst, we've got Anthony, who played well today. I just felt, and it was my own personal opinion, that it gave Ten Hag a good chance to say, off you go, lads, and we will play this team on Saturday and Wednesday. And the other thing about that is these players, the likes of Brandon Williams, the likes of Tuanzebe, if he's fit, I don't know if he's fit, they need games because, who knows further down the line where we are going to be. Excuse me. And you can't have players coming in that are icy cold. It's not good for anyone. They get nervous, players that are cold. They're unsure on what to do. And so you've got to be in and around. So I just thought it was a good opportunity to kind of field, the same team on a Sunday and a Wednesday. Look, I know people say you shouldn't risk the second leg in the Carabao Cup, but I don't see Forest coming to win on Wednesday, if I'm being honest. I think Forest have got bigger fish to fry.
Yeah, absolutely.
They've got to maintain themselves in the second half. So that was my thoughts. They could train together this week and Wednesday, and then the lads come back on the Thursday or the Wednesday morning, and then they reintegrate with the group. We're just about there, aren't we, at the minute, Ten Hag? I think Ten Hag is surprised about how far he's come as a manager, and he's been able to get out of these players, and how far that these players have really looked at him, looked at themselves, and suddenly, all of a sudden, decided they want to play football again. And it's great to see. I love Sean's point about a smile on your face. Now, Mark knows me, Sean, and normally to me that would just go over my head. I don't care about stuff like that. But I think you're right on this occasion, because they're kind of digging so deep, and they are digging deep, these lads. You've got to have that camaraderie. You've got to be able to, if you screw a shot 50 yards over the bar, you've got to be able to laugh at yourself, and your mates have got to be able to say, you're not doing that again, you whatever, and just have a giggle about it. You're absolutely right. And we've been missing that for 18 months. So I said at the very beginning of the season, Mark, I don't know if you remember this. Sean, you probably won't, but I said
I could barely remember my name in the morning when I wake up.
Well, that's true. I said I'd love to see us put a run of 10 wins together.
You did, and I do remember that.
Put that clump together, because it's always going to take you somewhere. and it's actually taken us somewhere, and it's great to be back where it's taken us somewhere. So I do take your point. That was just my version, really. I just felt that maybe he could have done that, but hey, I don't get paid 10 million quid a year to manage Man United, so what do I know?
Yeah, exactly. Right, yeah, so a couple of comments in here. Naughty Sean, but Reese asked that one. We like Sean. He's great with his analogies, and he's a bit of a cheeky chappy, isn't he? But yeah, very, very funny, my man.
If you give me a shovel, all I can do is dig. I'm sorry.
No,
if you give me
we're honestly, bro, we're all for that. It was a good
absolutely.
one. So looking at the starting 11 tonight, the way that I see it is, appreciate we're playing, other than maybe the two centre-backs, strongest 11 at the minute. But, you know, we got Dalot coming back. Shaw's been rested for a few games now. Obviously, Maguire and Lindelof are stand-ins, essentially. So those two have rested. Our big problem is in the midfield.
Okay.
Yeah, they were decent, but our big problem is that midfield. That's where we're really going to struggle, and we're going to struggle for legs. But I think from the front three perspective as well, yes, maybe Rashford needs a break. Weghorst hasn't really played much until recently.
Yeah,
we've got Jadon back in training now, and I feel that he'll really come back as a different player. Anthony's putting in very good shifts every game, so I don't think. Again, this is me being optimistic, I think, but I'm hoping that will mean that we are rotating enough, barring the midfield, to hopefully sort of to deal with it. But again, we'll have to just wait and see.
I mean, Donny would have come in tonight, wouldn't he? I would guess. I would have guessed Donny, perhaps, if he'd been fit, may have played tonight.
Yeah, I think so. I mean, Fred's always having a good game whenever he's coming on. He could certainly fit Eriksen's. I think Eriksen has been a bit quiet recently, actually, the last few games. I think he does look knackered. Yeah, I think he is knackered. So Helly here as well. Anthony is improving on and off the ball every match. He is just the same product tonight, as we said. Right, anyway, I'm going to come to the ratings now. I've got to finish up early tonight, unfortunately, so I do apologise, but go on, Stu.
Oh, ratings, yeah, interesting.
I thought you were going to say something, buddy. Sorry.
No,
Sorry,
no. I forgot we were doing ratings, and I'm like, oh, crikey.
We love our ratings, and hopefully we'll be kind of on the same wavelength when we give them tonight. So David De Gea, first of all, I was surprised he started tonight. Actually, I think you mentioned that earlier. Yeah, I don't quite understand why Heaton didn't come in, or Butland. Perhaps, you know, it's a bit of a mad one for me, but they don't tend to sort of have any sort of fitness problems usually, do they? So I don't suppose it matters too much. But Sean, I'll start with you, my man. David De Gea tonight wasn't really called into action much, was he?
No, not too much to do. I think the goal that was conceded was more defensive error than goalkeeping error, really. From my point of view, yeah, I mean, it's just that, you know, you're playing that kind of team, and not to take away from Reading, I mean, but look, we all know that they're in the championship or whatever. Yeah, look, 7, I guess, but there's no real benchmark, I don't think, to go from either.
Yeah, it's
difficult. Before I go any further with the ratings, I just want to call and be as honest as I've ever been on the podcast. And Andy Carroll, what a tramp. You know, absolutely shoulder blocked.
I forgot all about that.
Yeah. Poor little Tyrell Malacia never did anything to anybody, this little size of him. And Anthony Carroll tackled him like he was one of the mighty ducks. And it was great to see Harry Maguire stick the foot into him straight after it. I was applauding him for that.
Yeah.
You know, a bit of backup for his colleague. And he deserved his red card then as well for that tackle on Casemiro. And Casemiro played that one like a fiddle as well. It was brilliant.
Yeah,
lovely to see. He knew, he was like, this lad.
He was inviting that, wasn't he?
Yeah, 100%. But that's Andy Carroll all over anyway. It's just a dart. That's all he is.
Do you want to know? Do you want to know a little fun fact for you? Is that Reading is just outside my hometown, and technically they would be my local team. Obviously not the case in the end, but I'm literally only about 10 minutes down the road from them. So there you go. Right, moving on to, go on. What were we going to say? I'm ready, Stu. Go on.
No, it's all right. I would agree with Sean. I was going to give De Gea a 6, but 6 or 7. Well, there's no benchmark. I tend to agree with you on that one. But what it does mean, though, by giving De Gea a 7, it does mean you've got to give Wan-Bissaka at least a 7.
Yeah, I thought he was really good again.
I thought he was decent tonight.
Yeah, I don't know what's happened. Obviously, great, and it's been for several games now. But I'm really not worried about the right back position anymore.
Dallo doesn't get back in.
Nah,
right now,
and Dallo, when he comes
Sorry
back,
to say.
as he's probably Dallo up until his injury, I would have put him as the best right back in the season, if not Trippier. And Aaron Wan-Bissaka, it's really good to. He's so free flowing, isn't he? Do you know what I mean? He's sort of seemed to be. He's covering that right side of the defence very well, but he's coming in. He's taking. Do you know what I mean? It's good to see.
Yeah, it's good
really
to see.
good to see.
And he went forward a lot tonight as well.
Yeah, he gets a 7 for me.
Yeah,
he moved up the pitch, he got forward a lot, and that's his biggest criticism from any critic of Wan-Bissaka. Is he's a great defender, he's a solid defender. You know, my buddies that are Liverpool fans are always saying, you know, he's a great defender, but he's no good at attacking.
I've never personally agreed with that, actually. I said many moons ago when he first came in, he was actually very underrated for going forward. Statistically, I had a few things at one point that suggested that actually he had quite a few assists at one stage. His crossing was actually pretty decent and he did overlap quite often. And people were just slandering him because they didn't see it enough. And it was very underrated.
Yeah, Halla's made a good point about has he been given a free role because he was playing through the middle. He actually played at centre forward at one point, which is great to see. And then he came wide. The answer to that, Hella, is our good old friend Casemiro gives him that license to be able to do that.
Yeah,
because Casemiro is perfectly positioned at any given time, at any point in the game. He's perfectly positioned to be able to cover a missing player, so to speak. And that, Mark, is why Dallo eventually has flourished into this type of player, and why Shaw is a much better player, and why Maguire is more comfortable, why Lindelof is more comfortable, etc., etc., etc. One player who just knows where to be all the time, phenomenal. Anyway, that's why Hella. That's why he's able to do that.
Absolutely spot on. Absolutely spot on. Right, Harry Maguire. Sean, I'll give you him.
Yeah, I think much the same as sort of De Gea. Again, you know, not a whole pile to do. He did a good bit of going forward himself this evening, I thought. He spent a lot of time in the opponent's half, which I know is something that he probably does better than a lot of centre-halves, to be fair. So I'm just going to go 7 again. Again, defensively, not the world of stuff to do, really, but when he was on the ball, it seemed fine. Got a lot on his chest and brought him down and played him off, and got things moving. I thought, look, fine, absolutely fine.
Yeah.
There was one point when he sort of couldn't get his foot in right and was in front of that player, and that's typical. And then everyone would be on his back for that. We've defended him so often, haven't we, Stu? Maguire isn't as bad as what everyone makes him out to be. And I think he does so much better with Casemiro in front of him, and aerially, he's better than most defenders in the league. So
there you go. Andrew's made a point there. Brilliant point.
Agree.
He's
there
right. Andrew's right, and I think 7. Look, Lindelof, vanilla tonight as well because he didn't have to be anything. So I would give him a 7.
Yeah, is that your score for Lindelof or is that Maguire?
Yeah, no, Maguire, right? 7, but
7.
it's Lindelof gets a 7 as well. I think.
Yeah. Well, we'll skip over those two then. We'll count 7s as what we think for them. Tyrell Malacia, and I'll give you that one, Sean.
Yeah, I'm going to go much the same again with Malacia. He does. He's like a Jack Russell, like a wiry, kind of bitey Jack Russell with kind of small dog syndrome.
Really good description.
Yeah, that's how I always look at him. And at the start of the season, I know he went really well. Obviously, Shaw came into the team, and then when Shaw moved back to centre half for those couple of games, Malacia came on, and look, I think he's gotten some criticism that I don't think he deserves, to be honest. I
love him. I absolutely love him. Yeah, I absolutely love him.
Yeah, Malacia, look, he's just a little dogged defender, and again, he had a smile on his face tonight. So I'm going to go. Yeah, I don't disagree with Reece as such, but I'm going to go on the 1 to 10 rating and give him a 7 and not a 0.5. So it's either a 6 or a 7 for me, and I'm going to go with 7.
Yeah, I think that's fair. I really like his he's young. He makes mistakes. You expect that. He's the type of player that's still learning. But I just love a lot about him. And I think he really puts his heart into it 110% every time. Makes those mistakes, redeems himself, takes on players. Good with the passing ability. Sat in the midfield quite a bit in our last game against Forest. I really like him. I think he's got a lot about him, and I think he's got a very good ceiling as well. Really good spot by Eric Ten Hag, and a good signing, I think. Good today, and I like him, and I hope
fell
he
asleep
keeps
once,
on.
didn't he?
He did, yeah. He tried to chest it when you don't really do that. You clear it, don't you, at that point? But
well, the problem for him was he was completely the wrong side of where you should be. You know, he was facing the wrong way. You never face. You've always got to be facing. You don't face on the side. You've always got to be facing away from the goal. And he was completely the wrong side. Yeah. And to be honest, if I was Hoylett, although he dragged him wide, he should have held Malacia. Is what he should have done. Just held him off, held him at bay. And then he would have been able to get a much cleaner striking, because Malacia then would have had to foul him, and he would have given away a penalty. So it was bad play from Hoylett and bad play from Malacia. But look, he had a solid game, so let's be fair about that.
Yeah, good points well made. So we're all going to do Casemiro. We're all going to give him a rating because obviously he's most people's man of the match. 2 goals today and another absolute monster of performance. But over to you first, Sean.
Yeah, look, Casemiro is in a class of his own, really, in that position, I think. And I think any debate people should just give their heads a wobble, look at themselves in the mirror and say, who am I and what am I talking about? This argument of Rodri or Thomas Partey, I mean, stop.
Yeah,
because either of the two of them wouldn't lace his boots at the moment, in my opinion. And look, I'm a United fan. Obviously, I'm going to go on that side. But I mean, look, as I spoke to earlier at the top of the podcast, 18 trophies with Real Madrid, 5 of those Champions Leagues, and he's still as hungry. I know, was it Hella commented earlier on? He's still as hungry as ever to win. And that's the mentality Ten Hag is trying to bring in, and he brings that in. And again, scored a goal, particularly the second one, a belter, and then smiled and almost admitted, I didn't know a whole pile about it, but there you go, a goal's a goal. I'm going to give him like a 9 out of 10, like a really high score. I just think that, he's just solid. And again, he drew that red card from that other tramp. So, absolutely deserves the extra point, even if I was going to settle on an 8. He's definitely moving up to a 9 for that. Because Andy Carroll, I cannot stand. He is dirt. I want to reiterate that. Dirt.
Yeah,
thank you.
Good points there, and I don't disagree with you, brother. Absolute, pain in the arse of a player, to say the least. But you said the words right. Listen, a couple of things about Casemiro. Obviously, we speak about him every week, and we don't we don't shut up about him normally. But I think. If obviously, as you said, and Helly said earlier, still hungry to win more, still wanting to sort of prove that he can do that in the Premier League. There was a load of comments that came out that suggested that he really wanted to come over to United to help him out after watching a couple of the first games of the season. Whether that's quite true or not, I don't know, but I believe it, and that's what matters. But he, to even sort of say about the money sort of thing, that's not even true. He was basically on the same wage as he was at Real Madrid, and you can see how much it means to him. Particularly, who were we playing the other week? Oh, it's when we beat City, wasn't it?
City went into the crowd.
Oh man, I know. Listen, I think we did the ratchet. Actually, I'm not sure if you were on that, Sean. I think you might have been, but the reaction and just the passion that man shows, that's the kind of player you want on your side. Do you know what I mean? It just kind of draws everybody in, the fans, the other players around him, the experience, as you say, 18 trophies. It's just, honestly, it makes me well up sometimes, just how wonderful it is to watch, and just all those characteristics he brings to the team. It's great, and I really appreciate him for that.
How many Clásicos has he been in? And he still looks at the City game going, a derby, yes.
Yeah.
I'm gonna get stuck in today, and he just does. Then it's really refreshing to see. Really refreshing.
Lovely to see. Stu, any more to add to that, buddy?
Oh, he's not doing enough for me, Casemiro. He needs to up his fucking game. He needs to sort himself out. He needs to. What the hell is he? No. Casemiro is my type of player. You know he is. We've been on many a show, Mark, when we've been talking about.
Must be getting boring now, and I do apologise to everyone. But listen, I'm sure when you talk to all your mates and stuff discussing the game, you'll all be welling up and tearing up and going in like we do on Casemiro because he's just fucking excellent.
Yeah, we go. We've been doing this a few years now with Mark, and Mark knows my type of player. He knows the way that I play, and he understands the type of players that I like. And when we were linked with a CDM, two names come up for me. I wanted Brozovic from Inter Milan. I thought he was great for us, but Casemiro was my second option. Brozovic has always been my first. Mark will laugh at that because I always talk about him.
I was going to say, but
Casemiro was high up on my list. There's only two or three that really you would consider that they could do the job at the right level. And I couldn't believe we got Casemiro.
I know.
Don't think anybody saw Casemiro coming to Old Trafford. And I just think he's there. And he's that type of player. I'll shut up now, but, again, I don't look around the dressing room, when I'm in a dressing room, we're all equals, we're all there, but you just look at him and think, hey, he's fucking on our side today.
Mate.
Really impressive. So I don't give nines ever, but I'm quite happy to give a 9 today.
So you do give 9s.
This is my first one, and I think you're absolutely right because he absolutely, mugged off the car tours. Or as my young lad would say, and I've never ever heard this saying, I'm getting too old. He chinned off Andy Carroll. Then he gets a 9 for me as well. Otherwise, it'd have been an 8.
I'm starting to feel old as well now. Thanks, Stu.
I like that comment from Halley.
Yeah, I've seen it every time he's posted. It's good to see that, isn't it?
And moving from a dry, warm Madrid to a wet, cold Manchester, I'm sure for about 10 years he only ever saw water in a glass. And then he moves to Manchester. He only has to open the window and he sees it every single day, I'd imagine. Yeah. Incredible. What a change of scenery, Madrid in the very middle of Spain, there isn't water for miles. And then he, San Pellegrino was the last water he saw before he moved to Manchester.
It looks like he's really enjoying his football, and I'm really, really pleased with that. Yeah, I mean, I just one last thing before we move on. We will move on. I saw a post the other day. I mean, it was ridiculous. ESPN, darlings of Liverpool, tried to put Andy Robertson at left back and player of the season, and Rodri. Now, listen, I love Rodri on and off the ball. I think he's a wonderful player, but and Partey to a point as well. I've got my other issues with him, to be honest here, but Casemiro is just different class. I'm sorry. And no one can tell me otherwise. I'd say that until I'm blue in the face. Right, moving on. Christian Eriksen, I'll give that one to you, Stu.
He gets a 6 for me tonight, really, or a 7, 6 or 7, whichever we want to do. He falls into the David De Gea. I suppose your expectations at Eriksen are more. So he's just, I think he's tired. I think he needs a rest. So I'm just going to give him a 6. I don't think I've got to add to that, really.
No, I think you're right. So going forward, just quickly then, do you think this could be an opportunity to Fred to maybe start in replace of him? I know he doesn't really do the same job, but he could sort of wrap up and pass the ball well enough, couldn't he, in that role? Particularly as he plays alongside Casemiro in the Brazilian team.
I could see, a room for Fred in there, no problem at all. And then Bruno stays where he is. But I just think he just needs just a rest. Look, we forget that he's not long come back from problems. He died, didn't he? Bless him. So I think we've got to give him this. Just give him just a tiny break. That's all I would do. But I love the guy. I wanted Eriksen for years, for 10 years. I think he's a phenomenal footballer.
Yeah.
And he just
I wanted him initially when he went to Spurs.
I
think we were linked to him a lot, and Fergie spoke to him a few times, didn't he? So
just couldn't get him over the line. So, but no, look, he's always solid though. He's just at the minute he's just below his natural form.
Yeah. Right. Moving on quickly then. Sean, Bruno Fernandes.
Difficult one, that one
Yeah,
tonight.
it is a difficult one. I'm going to give him a 6, and
Yeah.
I'll explain why. Because I suppose I've grown to get to this expectation from Fernandes, particularly this season, to be better than he was tonight. Just simple as that. And I just don't think he ticked the box. A rare 6, I would say. It's not a reflection on his ability at all. But I think I have to be honest about how he played tonight, and that's why I settled on a 6.
No, great.
Yeah,
No,
I
yeah,
think
I'm
that's.
happy with that.
Yeah, I think that's fair. I actually, I think this is my favourite Bruno Fernandes in the United team I've seen over the whole years since he's
Yeah.
been here. And obviously we all loved him when he came in, got the goals, got the assists. But I really like this kind of free role that he kind of plays. But tonight, still misplaced a few, didn't he? Sort of snatched at a few shots and. But I like this version of Bruno, and I hope he can obviously have a few good games coming forward. Right, moving on then quickly to Anthony. So Stu, I'll give you that one.
Equal with Casemiro.
Man
Yeah.
of the match.
Sometimes you got to put your hands up, and I thought Anthony was great tonight. He wasn't brilliant, but I've seen a much better Anthony.
Yeah.
And if he's at 75% tonight, if he gets to 95%, you are going to have some player on your hands. So I thought he was really, really good tonight and well deserved my man of the match. So he gets a 9.
Yeah, I think that's fair. I haven't been disappointed with Anthony at all. I
No, I
people have
haven't. But we know it's frustration, isn't it? It's frustration.
Yeah, and I get that. But again, we've spoken about that before. I mean, even Bruno, they're both risky players, and when they play those risks, it's a risk you lose the ball and it can frustrate you. It's just as simple as that, right?
Excellent point. Yeah.
Anthony, I think actually every game that he's played, he's been okay. You know what I mean? I think he's getting better and better as games goes on. I don't think he's really ever had a poor game. He's got some very valuable goals. And yeah, he's probably 70% of what his ability at the minute. And if he's got a massive ceiling, and listen, Ten Hag, we had our pants pulled down. You can't live up to 80 million, not his fault.
United had their pants pulled down, not Ten Hag.
But that's besides the point. You can't control those sorts of things anymore.
Nothing to do with it. Yeah.
And listen, I think he's got a wonderful ceiling, and he's going to come good, guys. I won't be wrong about that. He's going to come good. Right, moving on to, unfortunately, Marcus Rashford tonight. He had a great game. Unfortunate about his goal is what I mean, and could have got another record tonight, 10 home games, which would have been really nice to see. Either one of you want to take that one?
I'll take it. Yeah, for sure. I think he got a goal. Let's call it how it is. Weghorst
was a really good finish.
Great
finish. Yeah, it was. Yeah, he took a goal and he took it well. Probably out of nothing. Got the nod on it. Fair enough. There was a little bit of magic there on the edge of the box at one stage where I was going cross-eyed looking at him, trying to figure out what his legs were doing. So I couldn't imagine trying to defend it.
He's done that so many times recently.
Yeah.
What he's done with his footwork, it's magical to watch, isn't it?
Yeah, so I suppose, look, if the goal was allowed, I'd be probably giving him an 8 based on the performance he had tonight. Again, maybe not his best performance in the last couple of weeks, but because the goal was disallowed, I'm going to bring it back to a 7. And call a spade, that could very easily, it's a matter of 6 inches, and sometimes that makes all the difference, as you know.
Yeah,
absolutely right. Right, finally to wrap up then, I need to...
I'm going to give... Right, Weghorst. I'll just be very, very quickly with...
What did you say? I missed all of that.
Don't worry.
I said Rashford's goal was just out by a matter of 6 inches, and sometimes that makes all the difference.
Yeah. So what's that about that much?
Weghorst. It's a real difficult one to calculate because I thought he did really, really well today. Stop it. Weghorst is probably walking off the pitch at this point in time. One hell of a frustrated footballer.
Yeah.
He must be absolutely livid with Rashford and with Anthony because of these runs and his ability to get across the defender is phenomenal. But he's getting across and going, well, what are you fucking doing? I'm making the run, and then he's standing there waiting to be marked because the ball isn't coming in. So Ten Hag's got to get that dealt with sooner rather than later, because otherwise Weghorst's going to go out and I don't think Anthony and Rashford will become the players that we want them to be because they'll be decapitated. Because if I'm Veghorst, I'm demanding them to feed me, and if you don't fucking feed me, what do you want me to do? I will be going nuts. Ruud van Nistelrooy, right? Yeah, exactly. Ruud, if Ruud didn't score, be somewhere else. Literally, don't be in the dressing room, because if you had a chance to play into Ruud and you didn't, he's going to kill you. He's going to rip your head off, and that is the thing, and that is the problem for the likes of Veghorst. There's issues going to arise if we don't get that ball into him, because he's got the ability to score goals for us. He really has got the ability to score goals. People are saying he's a bit clunky. So what? Get the ball in. So it's a big problem. So unfortunately, he gets a 7, and I don't think it's fair. It's not a fair score for him.
I'm becoming a big fan of his, actually. I think he needs to be given a bit more time. I think what he does off the ball is excellent. He's really dragging players out. We've said this on a few shows. I think his link-up play is excellent. I think, to be honest, if Anthony are going to run at defenders, and same with Rashford, he ain't going to get much. And he's only going to be as good as the service he's getting.
Needs support, Mark.
Yeah,
he needs support.
I do agree, but I think that everything else, if he's not getting that support, that's not his fault. That's not necessarily the other players being selfish. That's the other players scoring goals, right? So it's not a major problem for me. And I really like him. I do. I think he's a very, very intelligent player and does so much off the ball. And I think that you're right. It's difficult to give him a 7, but really he should be getting 8 if he was getting more service. You know what I mean? He does everything else right. And because he's not provided the service, which isn't his point,
we can't.
He could be getting 8 or 9. Do you know what I mean?
He would have had a goal tonight as well, but for some fantastic defending, came off a player's heel there.
Oh, it was tremendous.
He would have had
wasn't it? Yeah. It was tremendous. Yeah. I think you're absolutely right. I mean, the point about their goal, by the way, was I felt so sorry for Maguire. Maguire was wrestling away with one of their centre halves, realised what was happening. That fucking the lad was completely in 10 yards of space in and around him. Just couldn't get across quick enough. I felt for Maguire on that one. Talking of which, did you hear Ten Hag? Maguire's the captain. Bit of a message to Bruno there.
Yeah, maybe. I don't know. Maybe we're reading into that. Where did he say?
I don't care about skippers, but
I know you don't. Where did he say that? I mean, it is interesting, but I don't think we need to read between the lines too much there.
No.
But we'll have to see what happens with that. Obviously, listen, guys, I'm going to have to stop it now. As I said, I've got a few things to do. Boys, been a pleasure as usual. Thank you so much for coming on, Sean. Lovely to see you again, my man. And obviously, we'll get you on again soon. And Stu, as always,
pleasure.
Always wonderful. And to everyone in the comments as well, please make sure you've liked it. Make sure you're subscribing, all that jazz. And we appreciate your comments. It's been a really good conversation tonight. So we move on to the second round of the semi-final, essentially, next week against Forest. I probably will be doing a match reaction as well. Hopefully, we don't make that squeaky bum time for us next week, and hopefully that is an easy ride, but we'll have to wait and see. But listen, join us for that next week. It'd be good to get you guys back in, get some comments in and all that jazz. But until then, enjoy the rest of your weekend, and we'll see you around about then.